Welcome back to the MOOC course on corporate social responsibility. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. And we were talking about corporate citizenship, and we talked about the stages in corporate citizenship. Now, after that, we talked about why corporate citizenship is so important. Now, in this lecture, we are going to tie corporate citizenship in with corporate social responsibility. So let's see what we have for you here. Corporate citizenship and CSR. Now, how do corporate citizenship, CC stands for corporate citizenship, CSR stands for corporate social responsibility. How do they come together? Now, this is from a paper by Moon, Crane and Matten, and they say, and they've also cited Steinman and Lohr from 1994 in this paper, and they say that corporate dialogues, mediation processes and other fora to both involve citizens. I'm sorry about this mistake here, it should be other fora. The computer sometimes plays games. Okay, corporate dialogues, mediation processes and other fora to both involve citizens in corporate decisions, as well as making corporations active and accountable members of their community. And this is why it is important for organizations to become corporate citizens. So they participate with, they engage with the community through corporate dialogues, mediation processes and other fora. They involve citizens in corporate decisions, as well as the corporations get involved with citizens, and they both work together and become accountable members of their respective communities. And this is how everything just comes together. Okay, now I will share another table with you, and this was proposed by Waddell in 2000, and this is about historical development and intersectoral organization lessons for corporate citizenship. We were talking about engaging. Now we were talking about stage 5 of corporate citizenship, where you actually have different sectors participate. It's cross-functional teams, integration and finally transformation stages of corporate citizenship. At that stage, different sectors, different functional units in an organization just come together and they work together. And at the transformation stage, different industries come together, and it becomes a part of how you do things, and then you form partnerships with other like-minded people. Now, how does this happen? And this is very beautifully shared by Waddell in this paper. So I'll just share that table with you. The issue here is, for example, the issue is recognizing the role of both rights and responsibilities, and how do organizations act on it. They provide opportunities to broaden discussion about organizations' historical activities. They allow discussions around specific controversial actions by a collaboration member, even if it has no direct bearing on the relationship. If the issue is understanding and valuing of sectoral differences, they undertake further research on the intersectoral model. They analyze specific intersectoral opportunities in terms of organization, sectoral position, core competencies, assets, etc. They build strategies and activities that recognize and support the sectoral differences. So they celebrate sectoral differences. They also understand, they try and recognize what kinds of differences exist in different sectors, and what do different sectors bring to the table, and see how these can be fitted together. Then the issue is appreciating history, culture and technology, and the action that they take is analyzing the specific locational circumstances, understanding the local culture, and rather than just roll out intersectoral strategies, they develop them grounded in the reality of these specific circumstances. So they try and find out what the culture of the place is like. They try and understand where the organization is coming from, where is the organization rooted, and how the community is going to respond to their efforts, and then they develop these intersectoral strategies in grounded in the real world, in the real context, and address specific circumstances of the community through these intersectoral initiatives. The next issue is creating and spreading new intersectoral models. So what do the organizations do, or what do corporate citizens do? They create an experimental and learning approach. They create joint comparative learning processes with other organizations involved with intersectoral model building. So they get together with like-minded people. They try and understand, they try and learn together, they try and collaborate with other organizations who are involved in intersectoral model building. They identify needed institutions both within and between sectors and join with others to found them. They set up new institutions that can actually help take this intersectoral initiative forward and help the community. And developing new intersectoral leaders. IS stands for intersectoral. So intersectoral leaders, so the action that organizations can do or can engage in are hire people from other sectors, develop volunteers and employees, exchange programs with the goal of creating intersectoral leaders. If the issue is recognizing power issues and inequality, then they can talk about power differences and inequality. Research exchange mechanisms can be developed, and they can categorically experiment with new power sharing mechanisms. So it's on a much more complex, much more involved level, and so different partnerships are developed. Now there is something else that I want to share with you, and this is this diagram. Now I would like to show you the paper from which I have taken this diagram. This diagram was in the context of actors influencing social change, and I have taken the liberty of applying it to the corporate citizenship model and showing you how corporate citizenship can influence corporate social responsibility. So this is the original diagram. This is from a paper by Aguilera, Roop, Williams and Ganapati, and the paper is titled Putting the S Back in Corporate Social Responsibility, a Multi-Level Theory of Social Change in Organizations, and this was published in the Academy of Management Review in the year 2007, volume 32, number 3, pages 836 to 863. So they have proposed this model here. Now I have modified the model a little bit and incorporated it into the lecture so that I can show you. Now here they've talked about actors, but I think from the point of view of corporate citizenship, it's the exact same thing. The only thing is that instead of motives here, I've added the different types of motives that they have talked about in the paper. So here I'll just show it to you. It's the same diagram. So I feel that all actors can be involved. They are participants in the corporate citizenship process. So actors means the people involved, and they could be employees, they could be stakeholders, they could be governments, they could be NGOs, and these are all the parties that are involved in effecting social change. So when we talk about corporate citizenship, these are people, these are different entities that are influencing the corporate citizens. Stakeholders could be insiders, could be outsiders. Governments are influencing the insiders, and so people have multiple motives and relationships. Now the motives could be instrumental, which means they are looking for end gains, could be relational, what kind of relationship they want with the community, or could be morality based, doing the right thing. This is the right, it is right to do this, it is wrong to do this, it is wrong to kill animals, it is right to protect animals, it's right to protect the environment, or I must protect the environment because my children will not have anything to eat when they grow up. So something like that. Or relational, I would like to protect the environment because people will view me as a good person, or it will help me establish partnership with the community that I can then further build on this partnership. This networking is going to be very good for my stability in the environment. So something like that. So what kinds of motives do people have? So so all of this is here. So employees, for example, it depends on the employee perceptions of distributive, procedural, interactional justice. What is justice? Justice is a sense of a very, very, very basic definition just for understanding the difference between justice and morality. I'd asked one of my students this, and the difference between justice and morality is that justice is all about a sense of fairness. It's about comparing oneself with others, or in light, or assessing oneself in light of what one has and what others have, and then comparing oneself to different people and saying, okay, this was fair and this was not fair. It's not about right and wrong, it's about fairness. What does the other have that I don't have? What do I have that the others don't have, and why? So it's that description, whereas morality is all about a definition of right and wrong. So it's right. I don't care who else is with me on that. I don't care who else sees this as right, but I see it as right. So it's not right to take somebody else's work without their permission. It is not right to use somebody else's work without proper citation. So that's why you see all of these citations on all my slides. I've taken information from different sources. I've mentioned the originator of that information. This is not, I've studied it, I've tried to understand it, I've tried to interpret it, but this is still something else that somebody else has generated, and I'll give you the full references in your folders. They'll all be up there. So that is a definition of right and wrong. I don't care who else is doing it, but it's not only for my safety, it's also because I think it is right to give credit to somebody else who has generated that piece of information. Anyway, so it's about the motives. Then employee perceptions of distributive, procedural, interactional justice, whether the person is being treated the same way or not, whether the person has got the same tangible things that I have not, and interactional is whether the person is whether this procedural is whether the person has to go, whether somebody else has to go through the same procedure or not. Interactional justice is whether the person is being treated the same way as I am. Anyway, so that is for employees. Then the mechanisms for employee perceptions of distributive, procedural and interactional justice are: there's pressure to increase CSR level, employee participation and leadership, then organizational commitment, job satisfaction, employee citizenship and performance. So you are emphasizing that a sense of justice prevail through various activities. You put pressure and you say everybody needs to be treated the same way, and that leads to a change in social responsibility, which in turn leads to a change in the society. Then stakeholders. If the stakeholders are insiders, you take direct strategic decisions, and that feeds into a change in CSR, which in turn leads to social change. Or as outsiders, you could exercise your voice through, I've abbreviated this word in the interest of space, exercising voice through collective action, and that in turn leads to social change. Governments, domestic governments could be law enactment, law enforcement, bully pulpit, education on business practices, and that feeds into social change. Intergovernmental organizations, you could have bully pulpit policy papers, and that could in turn influence social change. And the non-government organizations, then they have their own motives, and the mechanism they use to effect social changes: campaigns, boycotts and multi-party dialogues. So these are the various methods in which different parties effect social change. And when we talk about corporate citizenship, we are talking about organizations taking on the role, or helping, not really taking on the role, but helping the government administer the rights to citizens, and facilitating the citizens to carry out their duties and to fulfill their responsibilities to the extent possible. And so this whole diagram that they have suggested, this whole mechanism that they have suggested, that Aguilera, Roop, Williams and Ganpati have suggested, is also applicable to organizations behaving as corporate citizens and facilitating the fulfillment of responsibilities and access to rights by the community. And this is all we have time for in this lecture. In the next lecture, we will talk about sustainability and how that comes together. So thank you very much for listening.